Good afternoon, Canada. Today we are going to have a conversation that is long overdue. We are going to step away from the sound bites and the superficial headlines that clutter our nightly news. We are going to talk about the future of our nation, the security of our borders, and the very soul of our industrial identity. There is a narrative being pushed right now that suggests our national defense strategy is a settled matter, that the purchase of the F-35 fighter jet is the only logical conclusion for a modern Air Force. But I'm here to tell you that there is another story, a story that the mainstream media is absolutely failing to grasp. It is a story about a pivot in our national defense strategy that is frankly shaking the foundations of how we, as a sovereign nation, choose to protect ourselves. Forget the noise for a moment. Forget the endless circular debates you have heard about the $19 billion F-35 purchase. We need to talk about a different path, a path that represents a silent, powerful declaration of independence. We need to talk about the acquisition of 88 Saab Gripen jets from Sweden. This is not merely a procurement decision. This is not just about buying a machine to fly in the sky. This is a foundational act of strategic independence. It is a conscious, deliberate effort to sever the structural dependencies that have defined and limited our military posture for far too long. If you are a Canadian who remembers our history, who understands the vast, unforgiving nature of our North, and who values the hard-earned tax dollars that fuel this government, then you know precisely why this matters so deeply. For decades, our nation, despite its colossal size and our unique responsibilities in the Arctic, has operated as a predictable, almost subservient junior partner within the broader Western defense architecture. We were the dependable buyers. We were the end users of systems designed in foreign capitals, controlled by foreign governments, and dictated by supply chains commanded by giants like Lockheed Martin and Boeing. Our military choices were dictated not just by our specific Canadian needs, but by the gravitational pull of our principal ally to the south. But times, my friends, are changing. The world is getting colder, both literally in our northern latitudes and geopolitically across the globe. Reliance without control is a luxury we simply cannot afford anymore. Let us cut straight to the core issue that necessitated this shift in thinking. We must confront the escalating, almost astronomical costs and the troubling operational limitations of the alternatives that were presented to us. The F-35 program, for all its promised stealth and technological superiority, has been a financial black hole for global partners. We have seen costs soaring way beyond initial optimistic estimates. For a country like Canada that demands fiscal responsibility, for a tax-paying base that works hard for every dollar, how do we justify throwing good money after bad? More critically, how do we tolerate the documented operational risk? Reports indicate that the F-35 mission readiness rates, which is simply the percentage of time the aircraft is actually available to fly and fight, have languished distressingly. We are seeing numbers hovering between a dismal 30% and 50%. Think about that for a moment. You buy a highly expensive machine, supposedly the best in the world, and it is unreliable more than half the time. Can we accept a defense capability that is consistently grounded, especially when facing a new era of Arctic competition? I say emphatically no. The Gripen acquisition is the definitive answer to that question. It is a calculated, pragmatic, and strategically profound move toward technological sovereignty. This is where the deal transcends a simple transaction and becomes a revolutionary act. When we purchase the F-35, we enter into a state of structured technical dependency. We do not own the software. We merely license its use. Every crucial aspect, from major software upgrades to the integration of new weapon systems, requires authorization, permission, and perhaps even geopolitical negotiation with the Pentagon. For a country facing immediate tangible threats across the longest coastline in the world, this is a dangerous vulnerability. It is frankly a restriction on our fundamental right to self-defense. The Gripen, on the other hand, provides us with the keys to the kingdom. We gain full access to the source code. Canada gets to control the software. Canada decides which weapons from any supplier globally to integrate. We can upgrade the avionics and mission systems based purely on our operational requirements without waiting for or pleading with another nation's capital. This isn't just about saving face. This is about ensuring that when a crisis breaks over Baffin Island or the Beaufort Sea, our response is immediate, unhindered, and entirely under Canadian command. As an astute defense analyst once noted, sovereignty isn't just territory. It is also technology. The Gripen makes that principle a reality, not just a noble aspiration. It secures our destiny in the digital age of warfare. Now let us talk about the theater of operations that truly defines us, the Arctic. Our nation controls the world's largest Arctic territory, a vast, hostile, and rapidly thawing frontier. The operational environment here is brutal. Temperatures routinely plummet to -40 degrees Celsius. The runways are often short, rough, and slick with ice. Infrastructure is minimal to non-existent, and the distances demand truly independent, self-sustaining operations. The F-35 was engineered for a different kind of war. It was designed primarily to operate from massive, fully provisioned air bases with dozens of specialized technicians and logistical support measured in cargo planes. It is, in many ways, a high-performance sports car built for the open road, but we don't have open roads in the Arctic. We have frozen tundra and emergency highway strips. The Gripen, by contrast, is the all-terrain, battle-hardened utility vehicle built specifically for this kind of unforgiving environment. Developed by Sweden, a fellow northern nation facing similar geopolitical realities, the Gripen's design philosophy is rooted in pragmatism and dispersal. Technical documentation from Saab explicitly confirms its ability to operate from runways as short as 800 meters, even when they are covered in snow and ice. This capability is paramount. It means we don't need fixed, vulnerable major bases to project power. We can operate from converted stretches of highway, from remote forward operating locations, ensuring that our defense presence is dispersed, resilient, and virtually impossible to neutralize in a first strike. Furthermore, the logistical footprint is incredibly light. Unlike the F-35, the Gripen requires ground support teams of just 6 technicians and 1 refueling truck for continuous operation. And the time between landing and being ready for the next sortie is under an hour. Sweden has proven this model for over 3 decades, operating Gripens from highway sections converted into emergency runways. This level of dispersed defense strategy, built on geographical reality rather than ideal assumptions, is exactly the capability Canada requires to credibly assert and defend its claim over the northern skies. The commitment to 88 aircraft is therefore not a random number pulled from a hat. It is the calculated fleet size required to patrol and credibly defend this entire massive region from the Yukon to Baffin Island. It is a practical, unequivocal statement that the Arctic skies are about to have a reliable Canadian owner. The pragmatic operational superiority translates directly into unparalleled cost-effectiveness, a factor that resonates deeply with every taxpayer. The estimated operating cost per flight hour for the Gripen hovers around a remarkable $8,000. Contrast that with the F-35, where the operating cost per flight hour is estimated to be between $35,000 and $47,000. This is not a marginal difference. It is an astronomical 5-fold disparity. By choosing the Gripen, we can effectively double our current flight hours within the same defense budget envelope. We are projected to achieve mission readiness rates between 80% and 90% compared to the F-35's dismal performance. Over the operational lifespan of 30 years, this choice could yield a monumental savings of $15 billion to $20 billion. This is where economic security and national security converge. We get vastly superior operational performance and availability for a fraction of the cost, freeing up billions to reinvest in the capabilities of our sailors, soldiers, and ground infrastructure. But the most potent aspect of this deal, the feature that speaks directly to the soul of our national ambition, is the economic and industrial revitalization it promises. This arrangement with Saab is not a simple vendor-customer relationship. It is a profound partnership model involving comprehensive technology transfer. This means the final assembly of our new jets will occur in Canada. The sophisticated maintenance will be handled by Canadian engineers. Crucially, the future upgrades and modifications will be developed by Canadian companies. This partnership includes one commitment that should resonate across our industrial heartlands. Rolls-Royce has explicitly committed to manufacturing Gripen engines in Canada. This requires significant upgrades to facilities in key centers like Montreal and Winnipeg, transforming them into hubs for building next-generation jet engines. What does this translate to? It means thousands of high-tech, highly skilled, stable jobs. Economic analysts estimate this deal could directly and indirectly create up to 15,000 jobs within a decade. It means reversing decades of atrophy and restoring our nation's aerospace manufacturing capacity, the very industrial muscle we allowed to be dismantled over 60 years ago. And for those of us who have followed this narrative for decades, we know exactly what loss I am referencing. The year was 1959. The aircraft was the Avro Arrow. It was the world's most advanced fighter jet at the time, completely designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in Canada. It was a physical manifestation of our ambition to stand as an equal among the great aviation technology powers. Then, in a decision still hotly debated and deeply regretted, the Canadian government canceled the entire project. The pressure from Washington, the promise of cheaper American alternatives, the belief that absolute alliance mattered more than technological independence, all led to a catastrophic loss. Over 14,000 engineers and workers were laid off overnight. Canada's sophisticated aerospace manufacturing capability collapsed, And tragically, many of those brilliant minds migrated to the United States, taking their invaluable talent and knowledge to help build NASA's foundational space program. That is a national wound that is never fully healed. A constant reminder of the cost of dependence. The Gripen deal 6.5 decades later is our chance to apply the remedy. It is the opportunity to move beyond that shadow, to rebuild that industrial base, and to reposition Canada as a defense technology producer, not merely a consumer market. This isn't just a plain deal, it's a profound act of industrial and national redress. It is a choice between dependence and autonomy. And we have definitively chosen autonomy. But the conversation doesn't end there, does it? We have secured the hardware and the industrial foundation. But how does this change our standing on the world stage? How do our allies react when we choose a path of greater independence? Think about that for a moment. Doesn't this put us in a stronger position? We must elevate the analysis. We need to dissect the geopolitical implications of this move. This quiet revolution of the 88 Gripen jets is not just about what we buy. It is about who we align with and how we choose to define our alliances moving forward. For too long, the default assumption was that alliance meant absolute adherence to the systems and priorities of our primary neighbor. But the Gripen deal is the foundation of a new, highly pragmatic foreign policy pivot. Canada is actively building new essential alliances, not against Washington, but alongside the Nordic countries: Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark. Look at the map. Look at the shared challenge. These nations face the exact same existential and operational pressures as we do. Vast, demanding northern territories, sparse populations, harsh climates, and the constant acute need to defend sovereignty against larger, rapidly rearming powers. This acquisition is the technological linchpin for a powerful new defense cooperation model. We are moving toward technology sharing, joint training exercises, integrated supply chains, and most importantly, a shared operating philosophy based on efficiency and pragmatism rather than sheer expenditure and reliance on cutting-edge theoretical supremacy. This is a crucial diversification of our security relationships. It is not abandoning NATO, it is strengthening the northern flank of the alliance by ensuring interoperability and shared strategic doctrine among the nations who actually understand and operate in the High North. We are replacing a singular US-centric model with a balanced, effective northern coalition, a necessary geopolitical maturity that allows us to speak with a clearer, more independent voice within the NATO structure. Consider the powerful lesson from Switzerland, a lesson we must never forget. In 2022, Switzerland signed up for the F-35 with initial cost estimates around 5 billion Swiss francs. By 2024, those costs had ballooned past 8 billion francs and were still rising. But the money was only half the problem. Switzerland soon discovered it could not use the F-35 for certain specific missions without receiving explicit approval from the United States. They couldn't freely export the technology or share critical data with partners outside of US-approved alliances. This is the stark reality of mortgage sovereignty. You buy the planes, but you surrender the freedom to utilize them when and how your national interests demand. Canada, having learned from this costly error, has chosen the path of control. We chose the Gripen precisely because it grants us that ultimate authority over mission, deployment, technology, and data sharing. This leads us to the critical strategic dividend of this deal: resilience and reliability. When operating in the Canadian Arctic, resilience is the ultimate weapon. An aircraft that offers mission readiness rates of 80% to 90% compared to the F-35's disappointing 30% to 50% is fundamentally the superior strategic choice. The Gripen is engineered to endure, to operate independently, and to return to action quickly, relying on simple, robust logistics. This robust design means we can double our operational flight hours within the same budget envelope, dramatically increasing our effective presence and deterrent capability in the north. We are not just buying a plane. We are buying reliable air dominance over our own territory, a capability we desperately need as the Arctic ice melts and new geopolitical vectors and potentially hostile actors begin to appear on our northern horizon. The commitment to bringing engine manufacturing to Montreal and Winnipeg and the promise of creating up to 15,000 direct and indirect jobs is not just an industrial policy. It is a profound national security measure. When we control the maintenance, the source code, and the essential manufacturing of key components, our supply chain becomes secure. We are no longer subject to the unpredictable whims of foreign congressional decisions, trade embargoes, or geopolitical pressures impacting global supply chains. This self-reliance ensures that our 88 aircraft remain airborne, mission-ready, and fully supported throughout their entire 30-year life cycle. This is the economic security of our aerospace future, converging with the national security of our sovereign skies. Let us return to the historical scar, the specter of the 1959 Avro cancellation. That was a moment when our industrial talent, over 14,000 brilliant minds, was sacrificed on the altar of foreign policy expediency. The Gripen deal, with its unprecedented technological transfer and commitment to Canadian manufacturing, is not just repairing that loss. It is leapfrogging it. It sets Canada on the path to becoming a defense technology producer again, not simply a consumer market. This offers the younger generation and the experienced engineers among us a tangible, compelling reason to stay and build the future of Canadian aerospace right here at home. This is more than a deal. It is a powerful corrective action to our national history. This is the central point that I want you, the experienced, thoughtful Canadian audience, to take away. This entire strategic pivot is defined by a choice between dependence and autonomy. Canada has chosen autonomy. We have chosen to prioritize the practical operational realities of our Arctic over the perceived expensive glamour of a cutting-edge technological platform that struggles with reliability and operational freedom. We have recognized that the true definition of a robust defense posture is the ability to control your own destiny. But as with any profound shift, critical questions must be addressed. And this is where I want your voice, your experience, and your commentary to come into play. We are building the future, but the challenges are immense. Sustaining momentum is critical. We have the commitment now, but will the next generation of political leaders and defense planners sustain this commitment to industrial sovereignty? Or will we, under new external political or economic pressures, allow this newly acquired capability to erode, repeating the catastrophic mistake of the Arrow era? We must hold our government accountable for every one of those 15,000 promised jobs. What safeguards can we, the public, demand to ensure this capability remains perpetually Canadian? How seriously will NATO take our path to greater independence? Will the inevitable chorus of complaints about interoperability issues be a genuine concern for alliance cohesiveness? Or is this merely a politically motivated excuse designed to pressure us back into a state of structural dependence on U.S. systems? Does true interoperability not also require reliable assets, which the Gripen demonstrably provides? The debate boils down to this. In the context of the rapidly escalating Arctic competition with major global powers, does the Gripen's proven, pragmatic, all-weather, and dispersed operational capability truly matter more than the F-35's stealth and sensor fusion on paper? Which aircraft truly secures our northern sovereignty against a determined adversary? Canada has chosen. We have opted for sovereignty through technology, resilience through pragmatism, and alliances built on equality. The 88 Gripen jets are not just metal and engines. They are the physical symbol of Canada reclaiming its right to control its own destiny, both in the skies and in the factory halls of Montreal and Winnipeg. I want to hear your analysis. Those of you who were engineers in the 60s, those of you who have served in the North, what does this mean for our military's future effectiveness? What does this mean for the future of our industry? This conversation is vital for the security and prosperity of every Canadian. Let's start the discussion now. Friends, this is a moment of profound change for Canada's defense posture, a strategic choice that defines our sovereignty for the next generation. If this deep dive into the 88 Gripen deal and the rebirth of our industrial capacity resonated with you, if you agree that reclaiming our technological destiny is non-negotiable, please hit that like button right now. It is a small gesture, but it tells the algorithm that Canadians care about substance, not just flash. And if you want more uncompromising analysis like this, focused on the real strategic interests of Canada, then you absolutely must subscribe and join this vital national conversation. Before you go, I want to hear your take on the future we are building. Tell me, how can we as citizens best guarantee that the 15,000 promised jobs and the manufacturing capacity brought by the Gripen deal are sustained over the next decade? Do you believe this independent path strengthens or complicates our essential relationship with the United States and our role within NATO? Looking at the -40-degree reality of the Arctic, are you convinced that practical operational reliability beats theoretical superiority for our defense needs? Your voice matters deeply in this debate. Please leave a comment below. It could be something as simple as thank you to the channel for shedding light on the Avro-Arrow connection, or thank you for supporting Canadian industry. Your engagement helps us keep this message alive. Thank you for tuning in, for sharing your insight, and for your commitment to a stronger, more autonomous Canada. May peace and prosperity attend you and your families.